that's why I love talking to people like you and just meeting folks who've seen the show that just love it and they're just so moved, and it's really, I don't know, it's refreshing.
You're now listening to The Creator Code, the podcast dedicated to unlocking the secrets of your favorite online creators. Each week, we will deep dive into the tech, tips, and tricks to find out what truly makes them tick. Whether you're a new creator just starting out or an accomplished veteran, this show is made for you. And now, here's your host, MattyTingles.
Okay, welcome back to the Creator Code Podcast. I am your host, MattyTingles. Thank you so much for being here. This is the podcast where we unlock the secrets to your favorite creators. As always, full video of these episodes are on YouTube, so check that out, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Today is Season 2, Episode 10, and we have a very, very special guest joining us. Voice actor, Broadway actor, recording artist, the list goes on and on, most notably from the company of Dear Evan Hansen, of course. I'm talking about Jared Goldsmith. Jared, hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. Welcome. This is such an honor. I just want to get this right out of the way up front. I since 2016 been a huge Dear Evan Hansen fan. Saw you on Broadway 4 times.
Wow.
So
thanks so much for coming back all those times.
Of course,
too.
Of course. It's the show completely changed my life when it came out, and so it's just been so cool to see you on there. And so when we were compiling a list of people to have on the show, I was like, oh man, yeah, let's try to get Jared on. So yeah, thank you for being here. Let's get right to it. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Happy to do it. I actually, I just moved out to LA for kind of the first time. I'm living here.
Oh, wow.
I just finished my run at Evan Hansen. I was doing the tour for a year, which is now a few years back.
Yeah.
That was the first time we set the tour, and then I was doing it on Broadway, both just before and just after COVID.
Yeah.
And same here. I mean, the show obviously changed my life for multiple reasons. I loved it the first time I saw it, before I was even a part of the show and the company. I thought the story was really unique, definitely timely for the 2010s.
For sure, yeah.
2016 when it came out, it was really just a cool, different theatrical experience. It was exactly what I wanted in a musical. It definitely spoke to me.
Yeah.
And then being in it, nearly 800 performances. I mean, it's a wild, wild ride with, and, going in and out of COVID as well, and seeing the relaunch of the Broadway production and how that affected people differently. People coming in masks, a totally different experience.
Oh, yeah, true.
So it's been quite an amazing chapter of my life that I just wrapped up really recently.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you got to see it 4 times. Were they all in New York City?
Yeah, so let's see. So I'm in Portland, Oregon. And so I saw the tour first when it came to Portland with Stephen Christopher Anthony.
Awesome,
who's
dude.
Fantastic. Yep. And then and then I've been to New York 3 times in the last 4 months or 5 months or whatever. Nice. and saw it every time I went there.
Awesome.
And you actually, I had to look back because I was like, I wasn't sure. I knew you were in the last couple, but I had to look back in the playbills. But yeah, you were in every time I was there.
Wow. Yeah, it's I was known in the building to have very good attendance for the most part.
Yeah.
I loved showing up and doing the show. It was very healing for me. As even though there are dark moments of the story as well. Yeah. It was very refreshing to kind of get to do the show, and playing the more comedic relief track made it a lot more, I think, manageable to do an 8-show a week track.
Sure,
the boys that play Evan Hansen full time, or even they have what we call the Evan alternate position, where they would do the matinees each week, so that one actor wouldn't have to do it twice in one day because they'd never leave the stage. And it's just like such a demanding track.
Well, so, he's crying almost the whole show, and then he's on stage for it's got to be like
Basically
85, 90% of the show.
Yeah, he misses like one number in the first act to go get changed, like go pee, grab some water,
Right.
and then like he's back in it. He's singing like up in the rafters.
Yeah.
He's crying. It's really quite a crazy role. And I mean, we had these understudies as well that would cover all the main boys. So Evan,
Right.
Connor, and Jared, and they basically have to memorize the entire script of the show. At the drop of a hat, someone gets sick, someone's out with COVID,
Yeah.
you're on for, Evan Hansen or Connor, and I know they definitely are, they're back there keeping the show alive every week. Yeah. And, at the drop of a hat, they always come in there and literally save the day.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I know it's crazy how, the show goes on.
It does.
So
indeed.
Yeah.
All right. So let's back up a little bit. Let's get into you a little bit. So I like to do my research for these episodes, and I kind of do a little deep dive. One of the things that stood out was bagel enthusiast.
Oh yeah, love a good bagel.
Talk to me about what's your perfect bagel. Talk to me about it.
All right, so back originally from New Jersey,
Yep.
That whole Northeast vibe. For me, I just love a good everything bagel. For me, I love the good schmears.
Yep.
I'll shout out my hometown, Livingston Bagels. Got just great bagels and schmears.
Nice.
For me, a lox or a smoked salmon or a smoked whitefish spread that they got, they're out of this world. It's fresh. It's amazing. For me, that's it.
Yeah.
I know some people, they do crazy things. Like you go to New York City, Tompkins, got crazy bagels.
Right.
They got like these crazy like cookie,
right.
Birthday cake cream cheese type of thing. I've never tried that. I probably would like it because I love sweets like that, but I don't know if I would ever particularly order it as my perfect bagel. But I would have a bite. I would definitely try it.
Sure.
Are you into bagels yourself?
Yeah. I like a good everything bagel. I kind of like you though. I'm sure I would like them, but I don't go too crazy with it.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay, great. So starting when you were 5, let's see, commercials.
Yeah,
really early.
I've been really doing it, since I was a kid. I did a lot of children's programming when I was younger.
What got you into that? Where walk me through 5 is so early. How'd you get in it?
My sister, she's 6 years older than me. She was cast in this JCC production of Annie
Okay.
when she was like 10, 11, and and she and my mom and I guess a couple other friends, people that noticed, they were like, she's a really good singer. She still sings. She works at Spotify. She puts her own music out.
Nice.
Cara Alley, you can find her.
Nice.
But she was brought into some manager that they recommended to my mom and her. My mom brought me along as well. She was working in the city every day, and the manager was like, "That's great, we're gonna sign Cara." And then she looked at me and she was like, "And what's he do?" And I was like, barely walking. My mom was like, he is learning to be potty trained, stuff like that. But she liked me too, so that they definitely sent both of us out, and I ended up doing a lot of commercials, Wendy's, Quaker, and now it's crazy because that's already like 20 years ago, and the business is all like changed.
For sure, yeah.
How commercials go and who's in commercials and streaming and all these crazy
absolutely
things. But, so it's weird to say like, I was in SAG and AFTRA before there was one union, which is only like 10 years ago now. But
Wow.
So I've definitely been at it, and I went to college. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to study theater. I wanted to really, because I think even though I had experience in acting and a lot of those areas, I would go to summer theater camp literally every summer.
Yeah.
I wanted some like formal class. I think I wanted the degree and I wanted to go to college.
Sure.
That kind of at the time, 16, 17, 18 years old, felt like that's what I want to do. So I went to Elon University in North Carolina. I got a BFA in musical theater, which really trained me to do a show like Dear Evan Hansen. I mean, the singing, the range, the movement technique, just all of that.
Right.
Really, really prepped me well to be able to do 8 shows a week.
I'm sure.
people do movies, TV, all those things, and I had some experience here and there when I was younger. But until you've done 8 shows a week, it's a different.
I can't imagine.
A different beast. It's a different beast.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's there are easier parts and harder parts of each because in film it's like that's it. They got to capture at that time. There's not really rehearsal time. In theater, you get time to rehearsal. It gets time to boil and sizzle, and it almost gets better as it goes, and it's the same show each time.
Yeah.
And that was what was so interesting about Evan Hansen too, because it was like we had the show and then it closed and then we re-rehearsed it again, and everyone came back 2 years wiser and 2 years smarter. And with all those experiences that they brought together. So, that was interesting too, to bring, in theater, you bring those different parts of where you're at each day to the same story you're telling, which is why I'm sure you were affected in different ways, seeing it 3-4 times.
100%. Yeah.
Every time, or in New York.
Every time was there's something different every time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Whether there's the same cast or a different cast member, like you see different things, and that's the magic of live theater,
exactly.
that everyone brings where they're at that day.
Yep.
And then they take it from there.
Absolutely. So. All right. So first show you ever saw on Broadway, Chicago. Is that true?
It was Chicago. Yes. It was Chicago.
And give me some of your all-time favorites.
Ooh, this is always fun. So a big all-time basic favorite for me is just Wicked. I really love Wicked. I've seen it probably over 10 times. It's just, for me, it really just checks the boxes.
Me too.
Of being epic and commercially, viable, but also I think personally there's a lot of integrity and the connection to the Wizard of Oz, which is just a beloved American movie musical. I think it's great.
I agree. That actually one of the days that I saw Dear Evan Hansen with you, I saw I believe I saw a matinee of Wicked and then Dear Evan Hansen that night. So we did a
Wicked, Evan Hansen back to back. That's a good day. That's a great day.
Absolutely.
Let me think. I loved Evan Hansen, obviously. I did really love A Strange Loop this season.
Yeah.
It was, I thought, very, very different.
And
I thought that was just really cool, and I appreciated that so much. I think we're seeing a lot of interesting formulas these days for musicals. And I am a big fan of a movie musical here and there.
For sure.
If it's done well and right. I loved the producers. I loved oh God, I'm drawing a blank. I loved Harry Potter too as a play. I thought that was cool. The way they wrapped it all together like that. Yeah. Trying to think of a weird one I can give you. I'm a big Sondheim fan, so I love Merrily and Sweeney and Into the Woods.
Yep.
And I think Pippin's always been special for me.
Yeah.
Those are
all
fantastic. So I'm definitely a theater nerd fan at heart, truly.
Absolutely. All right, so let's see. Elon University. Same year you started. So graduated in what year? 2018. 2018, and then that's the same year you started rehearsal.
Yeah, it was just a few weeks later. So it all crazy timing, just worked out. It's crazy. I mean, it happens, not to everyone, obviously, and it was, Elon was a great place and there were great students and great faculty. So it would happen all the time. Kids would graduate, they'd go right into Book of Mormon or Hamilton or something like that. And then, it was just wild how it all kind of worked out. It was as I was graduating, I knew I was stepping into this show, and
crazy.
And Evan Hansen was known as a show to be plucking kids out of college, before they were finishing, 1, 2, 3 years sometimes,
sure,
or even high school sometimes. So because it's a show about young kids, and they wanted it to feel like authentically young kids.
For sure. Yeah. Talk to me about your so what about auditions, anything for that initially? How did that go?
For Evan Hansen?
Yeah. And then did you ever audition for any other role besides Jared?
No, for Evan Hansen, I only was seen for Jared. I think they were like, I think we want to see him for Jared.
Nice.
It was wild though. There were a couple rounds with the director, Michael Greif, and he wanted to do kind of work sessions with people, get them ready to then show for the main creative team, band, Justin, Steven, the writers, Stacy, the producer, Lack, the music supervisor. They really, for that first round, because when they were casting the tour, and it was really like the tour and the first Broadway replacement cast, basically. And they wanted to, do it right. And as typical with a lot of Broadway shows, when they know something is working, they had a hit on their hands, and they don't want to stray too much from the original version.
Sure.
But that was what was interesting in the rehearsal room just after audition process. They really we got to work with one another.
Yeah.
It's different. The nice thing about the tour, we set a whole new production. Everyone started on the same day.
Nice.
Whereas with replacing in a current production, people step in, and it sort of becomes this puzzle piece of like, first Jared leaves, and then Connor leaves, and then Evan, and you replace them little by little. So eventually it becomes this, like, I guess almost like the snowball avalanche of what people pick up from other people, and then that's how the show sort of continues to evolve. Which is what's I find so fascinating about shows that are long running, that run 1, 2, 6, you're looking at Wicked and Phantom, 15, 20, 30 years, things evolve, which I think is really cool. And, I think going back to the auditions, they evolved how they were looking for people to play these characters, and, what they were really looking for. Because they ended up creating these very specific archetypes for these very specific characters. And, they wanted certain ones to, to feel from the audience, a certain way, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So, and wait, so were you were on the first national tour? Were you in
That's right.
You're in the original?
So we did the,
Okay.
I opened the tour.
Wow.
In the first year, we did about 25 cities.
Wow.
It was a really wild experience too, because even then, and even afterward, when it went to Portland, the whole second year, it was playing most of these cities for the first time. So you were bringing this new story to people for literally the first time.
Right.
So I think that was the coolest experience. In New York, some people were seeing it the first time, but a lot of people would come back and they revisit, and that's interesting as well. But I playing like this story to LA and Denver and San Francisco and DC, all these cities for the first time was very interesting. And then you see how different audiences would respond to the play differently.
Totally,
just based on the culture of that city.
Right.
Touring's a very, very interesting experience. I encourage any actor to give it a try if given the opportunity. It's not for everyone, but it's a very cool way to travel and do what you love at the same time. And
who was so that first run, the 25 shows, the first national tour run, was that Ben Levi Ross? Who was
that? Was Ben Ross?
That was
okay. That was Ben Ross.
Nice.
Yeah, who then got to come back to do the show for about 2 months this past spring.
Right,
which was really a treat.
Yeah.
They were the first Evan I ever did the show with, so it was just it was a nice kind of way to
little
close
reunion.
That as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was really special.
So okay, so we're just gonna go in order here. So you do national tour, 25 shows, and then October 22nd, 2019, you joined the Broadway company. Talk to me about that. How what maybe some contrast between. Is there more pressure to be on Broadway than touring?
It's a different type of responsibility, I suppose. In some ways it's easier. You're set. You're not traveling and picking your stuff up every 1, 3, 6 weeks, whatever.
Right,
some of the tour had long stops, which was nice. But I think they treat them all the same. Perhaps we joke the Broadway production was the flagship production, so to speak, kind of home ported in New York.
Right.
But it is the same. I almost felt that the pressure was on a little more in the tour simply because it was going to those spots for the first time.
Sure, yeah.
But the tour is ultimately bigger. Like the stage is literally bigger.
Yeah.
They travel the whole stage, and it's huge to play these huge theaters like at the Fox Theater in Atlanta or St. Louis. Like it is like 5,000 seats, like enormous. Sincerely Means this rock concert. People are
for
screaming.
sure. Oh yeah.
It's like it's wild.
Well, yeah, because the Music Box isn't necessarily a huge theater.
1,100 seats. It's intimate and
Very
it feels intimate, and it's nice for a show like this. They
Right.
even have the stage slightly raked in the music box, so it's like sort of slanted,
Whoa.
just so people can see the floor projections a little easier.
Oh, makes sense.
Which everyone it's like, oh, my lower back starts to hurt after a couple weeks.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the stage itself is just smaller, and it's like
right.
fit and set to fit in that box. Whereas the tour, you go to some big houses, and they have big backstage areas, or little houses they have little backstage areas.
Wow.
So that was an interesting part of touring as well, playing the different houses. And you only had so much time to kind of adjust to each house.
Right.
Whereas, the music box, I really felt like I had time to settle into that theater.
Right.
And settle into that house and the New York audiences, like I was saying, as opposed to how the audiences would change in each city.
Yeah.
But it was fun doing, the Broadway experience, so to speak, that's, 45th Street is very magical.
For
how
sure.
You have, all these theaters just kind of lined up there, and
yep.
It almost feels like a college campus. It's, it's campy like that. It's got, there's people, and there's events they do, whether it's the Broadway flea market or
right.
Broadway Cares events, or, there's definitely a unifying sort of energy amongst the community, which is really nice.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. Okay, so which Evans have you worked with? Let's run through that. So Ben Ross.
We got Ben Ross.
I saw you first time I saw you was with Jordan Fisher.
Word. We got Jordan Fisher.
Yep.
We got Stephen Anthony, who was the alternate the first year of the tour.
Yep.
Noah Kaiserman, who's now actually playing Connor on Broadway.
Yep.
But was originally understudying Evan. Sam Primack, who will be the final Evan.
Nice.
Who I did on tour for a couple shows. As he was crossing over. Let's see that. Then Andrew Feldman on Broadway.
Yep.
And then Michael Lee Brown on Broadway did his last shows as well. And Jordan, who we named. Yep. Zach Pizer.
Yep.
Zach Pizer.
So one of the times I saw you, it was with an understudy. I think it was Mateo.
Yes.
Something.
We got Mateo.
Yeah.
Who's currently the alternate on Broadway.
He was great, by the way.
Josh Strobel. Oh, yeah.
He was so good.
They're all amazing, and they're all so different. The thing is, it's so interesting, how the show changes, and it keeps us alert.
Right.
Keeps us alert.
Sure.
Because we just are there to really listen and respond to who's there, and you see a different person, you see a different Evan, you have a different relationship with that person, and it was fun getting to know each and every one of the understudies in a different way, because then it felt like you had that different relationship with them on stage.
Right.
Translating.
It is one of my favorite things, is just watching the subtle differences between who's playing who. I will never forget Jordan Fisher, who's good at everything. Jordan Fisher did a thing that I'd never seen Evan do, that I'll never forget. It sucked the air out of the room. It was incredible. And without giving too much away, right before You Will Be Found note cards, he did a hyperventilating thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was so different from anything I had seen. Oh man, so good.
I know he really loved. I mean, as much as I think he loved that moment and also hated that moment, because it's so it's like this incredible gift to perform, and also this incredible curse. It's like you have to have a genuine just panic attack right there in front of all these people. Yeah, and I thought it was so cool how in that scene he's kind of like, I can sort of break the fourth wall almost.
100%, yeah.
And it, the audience now becomes a character in that section of the show, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
He's very smart, and he's just kind of good at everything he does.
Yep.
And it was very fun working with him. He's a very fun Evan for sure.
Yeah. But you work with a lot.
Yeah, I think it might be 11 or 12. I think I left out. I think that if that was 10, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we also had Josh and then Nathan and Reese, I think. So maybe it's 11 or 12 Evans that I'd done the show with. And after a while, it's it's our job to just do the show.
Sure.
But it's fun when you get that variety and things change up a little.
Right.
I enjoyed that part of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because there's only 8 people on stage, so
Yeah.
You know, suddenly you change 2-3 people out, and the show is like totally new and different.
Yeah, I love that you said that Sincerely Me is like a rock show. I think that's so funny because it truly is, you know, it's one of the more up-tempo, if not the most up-tempo song.
Sure.
It's the one that's getting laughs. It's the
Yeah.
one that's like, I took friends with me who had never seen the show or knew nothing about Broadway, and that's always the one that they're like, oh, I love that one.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know?
crowd pleaser for
Yeah.
sure, you know, and in those giant cities, people were just like, wow! I
Yeah.
mean, it felt like a rock concert, yeah.
Wow.
So that was really cool, you know.
Wow.
I think it's been special to have a show resonate with audiences in such a way. I've never seen such a devoted fan base until, you know, you see them with certain shows, but this one, it really, people just felt such a personal connection, which was so touching.
For sure.
And the show ended up partnering with a couple not-for-profits, and you know, they're even listed in the playbill because, you know, a lot in the beginning, so many fans were reaching out to the actors about like, you know, their own experiences, and, you know, the actors would be so touched, but they'd also be like, I'm not really a professional that deals with this.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can only do so much. Like, my job is really just telling the story,
Right.
and doing the show. So, you know, the show had a psychiatrist that they would hire, and we would talk to, and they would kind of, you know, sort of, you know, teach us how to sort of greet these fans at the stage room. We were still doing that officially, and people would want to sign autographs and introduce themselves. So, yeah, you know, it's, you know, I think we sometimes forget when we're backstage, like, how much it really affects people and how much it really matters. And
Absolutely,
you know, that's why I love talking to people like you and just meeting folks who've seen the show that just love it, and they're just so moved, and it's really, I don't know, it's refreshing.
Absolutely,
you know, it's nice to just you know, just chat. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So I was watching. So back to a little bit of the creator side too. So you have a YouTube channel. You have a TikTok. We'll get into all of that. So I was watching when I was putting these questions together. I was watching a couple of the vlogs on the YouTube.
Yeah.
And something that you said really stood out to me. And then I was like, wait, yeah, I got to ask him about this. So, because this is,
oh God, what did I
this
say?
this has been a debate with me and friends that I took to the show as well.
Sure.
So the look at you helping the Murphys line.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's not a funny line, right?
I think it depends on how you're playing it. It could be funny. It could be considered funny. People do sometimes laugh. I think I know what you're talking about. So in the vlog, that particular night, it was like one of those like delayed laughs,
right? And
someone laughed like what felt like 10 seconds too late,
right?
And then people ended up laughing at the guy who laughed.
Sure.
That's my least favorite thing, when people laugh at, like, when they make you know, an audience reaction about them, and then they pull the focus away from what's happening up there. But that's fine. I think for him, it might come across as funny because he definitely masks a lot of that insecurity with humor. But
sure. I just personally, I never thought, like, because people have laughed in the crowd when I'm there.
Sure.
And I'm like, what? This is like, things are falling apart. This is totally like a sarcastic, underhanded line.
That's how I think it is too.
Okay. Okay.
But you know, fun thing was getting to play with different things each night, and you know, and the crazy thing is we would have this so many associates come and watch the show, even down to my final weeks. They were always giving people notes. They were giving Evan Hansen's notes before their last shows. They wanted to really keep the show fresh and keep asking us questions and keep challenging us to think about moments differently, because sometimes
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that I thought was really cool, and maybe it's just because I pay attention to Dear Evan Hansen so closely, is I think the last show that I saw, which would have been in like May, I guess, maybe, was right around when a lot of like terrible shootings and stuff were happening. And I noticed, like, in the beginning, they took out the school shooter line.
Yes.
In that. And I was like, when that happened, I was like, oh, smart. That's great. So is that just a note from...
That was, you know, something the writer had come up with. We, you know, I've said that line, so we've had a few different variations of it, you know, and unfortunately it's been like, you know, I remember that one time, which was in May, it was like we kind of went back and we're like, oh my gosh, what happened the last time there was like a terrible shooting, and it was really timely, and we were like, it's it's unfortunate we're talking about this like constantly, but it is very relevant, and it is supposed to be, I think, shocking, and I think that's kind of why Jared says it.
Sure.
It happened so fast, and I don't think anyone wanted the show to come off as insensitive for one small moment like that.
Yeah.
But I do recall us going to Fort Lauderdale in 2019, and we were asked to adjust that line for that city as well.
Yeah.
Which I think we said something different even.
Is that hard to adjust? Like, is that in your mind going up to that, being like, okay, I got to remember to...
It was definitely a little nerve-wracking at first.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, this isn't quite pinching Evan in the same way, so to speak.
Right.
So how am I gonna, kind of slightly adjust, but still stay within the bounds of what I've been told to kind of do in this moment?
Yeah.
So that was interesting for sure, but it gave me something new to play with, and it gave me something new to try. And, people did chuckle at it, not in the same way. I think eventually the school shooter line became like more of a gasp and a shock, which I guess is the intention from the writer's perspective. But it was, again, I think that was probably a wise move to continue to,
I really was, adjust, I was like impressed when I heard you say something different. I was like, oh, that's nice. That's actually really cool. Love that.
And those are little things that the fans really do pick up on.
Absolutely.
So, I'm glad you noticed. Yeah.
All right, moving on a little bit. So let's see. Talk to me about like press. I know you did Good Morning America, that kind of stuff. How are those experiences? Are those fun, or do you dread those? Because I know people who don't look forward to that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think they're fun. They're fun. They're definitely fun. They can be nerve-wracking because it's like, oh shit, it's live and everyone's got eyes. And I think once you just get over that hump, which I've tried to just be a pro and continue to like take it, and roll with the punches. I don't mind. It's usually exciting. I think it depends on what the press event is, though.
Right.
I think we did so much press for Evan Hansen after so many years being attached to the show.
Yeah.
But it was always good stuff, and I think it was always, again, for people who really cared and cared about the show. It was a little more exhausting doing it whilst having 8 shows a week.
Sure, yeah.
I think that can be the tiring aspect.
Yeah.
The Good Morning America experience was just fun because it was kind of like a couple months before we got back into rehearsals, so we got to really like dive back into it. So it felt like kind of a reunion.
Yeah, because that was like the first thing post COVID. Like that was really cool.
I think it was the first time Good Morning America had a live musical act, maybe since COVID.
Yeah,
maybe definitely a Broadway one for sure.
Right.
So that was nice, and I guess that was June of 21. Yeah, it was like early June there.
Yeah.
So that was fun. It was kind of like, all right, we're coming back, and be sure to see us when we reopen, and that was really nice.
What did you do? What did you do during those 2 years when it was shut down? Like, how was that?
Yeah. So that really became my big dive into the internet and TikTok and music and recording music. And it felt like the right time for me to do so. I definitely at first probably took the first, 3 to maybe even 6 months to just kind of soak and decompress or decompose or whatever it was.
Right.
I got COVID pretty early on, like in March of 2020, as soon as the city shut down. So, everyone was getting it, and I was good after 2 weeks. I got my smell and taste back and all that. And I was kind of just locked inside. And eventually, after so many TV shows and this and that, I was finally like, all right, I'm going to really dive into this. And, I started really TikToking and really, getting onto Twitch and YouTube and all the things. And, I eventually started recording my own music. I write a lot. Me and my writing partner, we work on a lot of different scripts, and we were writing a musical show for a while that we were still developing, and we were doing a lot during COVID, which was great. And I was trying to do what I was able to do, and what I could control.
Right.
So
for sure.
I put out, since then it's been like, I guess over 2 years. I've put out maybe 6-7 singles on Spotify, Apple, all those spots.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to kind of, like what you do, make your own channel and kind of showcase all the things you like and feel good at, to, those who choose to tune in. And I think it's been fun. And I think these days there's such a, not a requirement, but it almost feels like a pressure for a lot of actors or influencers or whatever it is. The line is kind of blurred.
For sure.
Of like, if you want to do this, it couldn't hurt to also explore, the internet. Because at the end of the day, there's a difference in quality. That's why you're spending your time and money to come sit in a theater to watch a 2.5-hour musical play like Dear Evan Hansen.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I mean, just the TikTok I posted yesterday has 100 times as many views as the people that are coming into the theater.
Sure.
I think I'm fascinated by how the entertainment industry and business has sort of evolved due to those advents of technology and social media apps. Obviously they come with their baggage and, other elements as well, but I think the future is somehow merging the two together. And that's why I think, live streaming is so interesting, and you can find a way to merge it with live theater or, again, though, there's still that magic of being in the same room live.
100%.
So,
yeah.
No,
you did.
It's a balance.
I think you did a great job, especially, like in green rooms and dressing rooms and stuff with Dear Evan Hansen. Like you did a lot of like TikTok content with that. And I think that was really cool because, especially for someone like me who's like so like attention detailed, I love seeing behind the scenes stuff.
Sure.
I think that's such a cool way to kind of merge. Because like you said, there is something to be said about the magic of being in a seat, in a room. But if you can, merge those things using a platform like TikTok, I think that's really smart and important.
Yeah, so that was kind of part of my goal as I came, because I was doing a lot of the internet stuff anyway. I just didn't, it was like just as the show, everything was shutting down. I remember like I was downloading TikTok in probably like February, March of 2020. And I was like, oh my God, what is this app? Everyone's got this like blank canvas to do literally whatever they want. And then it totally exploded during the pandemic and during the whole quarantine phase. And I wanted to kind of make it a goal of mine to like really come back and continue with the content creation and all that while I was at the show, because it did feel like a nice opportunity for again, when you have such a devoted fan base, to keep those fans engaged in some capacity and show them something that they might not normally get to see. So I think that was fun for me. I think a lot of people enjoyed tuning in
for sure.
So yeah, I was totally for it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's round out the Dear Evan Hansen, because I know we've been on here and a lot of people listening. The thing about this is everyone listening who are a fan of me knows this is such a big part of my life. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, enough Dear Evan Hansen, you know that this I have to. You just know. But I do want to ask you a couple last things about Dear Evan Hansen just recently. So recently you took your last bow.
That's right.
Walk me through that. Maybe that night or week. That's got to be crazy, right?
The final week, man, it was wild. It just was crazy because it was so many times, and I don't know, it was like sprinting toward the end of this marathon, and you knew exactly like kind of how it was going to play out. You just kind of didn't know how you were going to be feeling and what it was going to be like. And it was crazy because they literally, after each, I am in a different costume each time I would leave the stage and come back onto the stage, and like my dressing room would just have all my clothes like lined up on the wall. And by the time I finally got back at the end of my last show, like after each scene, my dresser was taking all the clothes like away to be like archived, basically. So by the time I got upstairs at the end of the show, like right before the last scene, I got dressed and I was like,
whoa,
wow, there's nothing else in here. And I had emptied out my dressing room. I mean, I was pretty set in there because it was a while, and then it was the COVID, and I had I had a couch in there, and I had a TV in there, and I had a PlayStation in there, and then like by the end, it was just like everything was just gone.
Wow.
And I was like, this is really it. And it definitely was a nice way to close the chapter. I left with quite a few folks in the cast that day, a few of which we all had joined and opened the tour together. So we had literally been together for about 4 years.
Wow.
Obviously on and off with COVID. And that was another weird kind of concept to settle with as well, because it was like, it's been 4 years, but hasn't been 4 years, but it really has been 4 years. Yeah. So, that's an interesting experience as well. But I think we all just felt ready at the end of the day, and then we all toasted after and had a little party, which is kind of nice because it felt like we were not doing the big farewell parties that we were before COVID.
Yeah.
Just because they were trying to keep everyone safe and they didn't want any cases happening. But then this time it was kind of the first time they finally were like, no, let's go out somewhere. And I think we're able to do it. So that felt really nice.
That's good.
And I went to the put-in the Friday before my last show to kind of watch the new cast.
Nice.
They have what's called this like put-in rehearsal. It's basically their final dress rehearsal before they begin the next week. And I got to see Gaten there in the Jared costume, and he was so excited to just be there. And he's just like just the nicest guy. And I got to see some other friends that were, like I was saying, Noah, who's now playing Connor, who I'd done the show with, and Sierra's now playing Alana, who I'd done the show with on tour as well. And so that was interesting watching put in as well, because a lot of it was with people I'd done the show with or had seen do the show. So it was very, that was kind of a surreal experience. But I was happy to get to watch it just kind of like one last time before doing that final weekend.
For sure,
this is what people out here are experiencing. And, because you forget, you really forget when you're on the other side.
For sure.
I remember like a couple of friends and family of mine were coming to the last show, and I was like, I wish I could watch it with you.
Right.
Like, I can. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So
can you see? I've always wondered this because I've been on stage for stuff before, but certainly not on like a Broadway show.
Yeah.
Can you see? Do you like our audience's faces and reactions a distraction? Can you see them?
Not
or can
typically.
You block
you're
it
not
out?
You're not usually focused on people's faces, like, or making eye contact with them. I mean, maybe you are. I guess it depends on what the circumstances are. I mean, for this show in particular, it's very dark until the final scene.
Sure.
So I really was rarely able to see past the first 2-3 rows.
Got it.
Especially for like facial expressions with people's faces, literally.
Right.
But yeah, you feel the energy for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was definitely, we'd walk off, and blame, the audience as being, not engaged or whatever. It's kind of
that's
fun.
another that is true though, because even the last few times I went, like 2 of the crowds were great, really great. But then one of them, like there wasn't really because like after seeing the show so many times, like I know when something's about to happen. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's see how people react, in my mind. And some of them weren't really. They just weren't reacting, and I don't know. I'm sure different crowds are different crowds, but that's really interesting just to see the difference in crowd too.
It's true. It's interesting how literally each performance would change just based on who's there, and you feel that. You definitely feel that, and sometimes it feels as though they're not really there, but then they really are, and it turns out at the end they've. But yeah, I mean, this show is such a roller coaster
for sure,
and such a beast for for that main guy in that blue polo, and it's
crazy,
he
man.
says Dear Evan Hansen, and then he takes him on this big ride for 2.5 hours.
My favorite thing is the first time I went on Broadway, we sat in front of a couple, and the guy was clearly not there because he wanted to be there, right? And so we were sitting there, and he was like, why are we, this isn't, she's like, no, just wait. You're gonna just wait. And he was trying to be this tough guy, and literally, when Evan talks with his mom at school, like really early on the phone, I could see his shoulders like move. He was like almost sobbing.
Wow.
And I thought that was so funny because I'm like, see?
No, it's powerful. And hey, I think that's really special, if someone can be moved like that. I mean, that's, if one person is moved, it's like, you've done your job like above and beyond, I think. So
for sure.
It's cool how theater can have that power.
Yeah. All right. Last thing about that. Let's Gaten Matarazzo.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, that's Dustin, Stranger Things. If you don't know who it is, you would absolutely know who it is if you saw a photo. Succeeded you as Jared.
Yeah.
How was that? Did you know him at all before he came on?
A little bit. So
Okay.
Andrew Feldman, who played Evan in 2019, and did Evan when I made my Broadway debut, produced a really. He wrote and produced this really funny Star Wars parody musical.
Okay.
That we did a full concert of at 54 Below.
Wow.
And this was probably January of 2020. It was really just before the pandemic. Gaten came to see the show in December of 2019, just before then.
Okay.
We met, he was a really cool guy. We exchanged numbers. He met Andrew. They totally hit it off. And Andrew was like, "Hey, do you want to come play Luke Skywalker in my Star Wars parody musical?"
Wow.
And he was like, "I would be honored." He totally pulled through. I played R2D2. It was honestly one of the funnier parts of the show because I just got to kind of beep and boop along the way and then sing the other stuff. It really was this funny. Oh, and Will Rowland, who was the original Jared, played C3PO.
Wow.
So there we had a lot of Evan Hansen alum in the cast for that, and that was like this fun silly event we did at 54 Below, Broadway's kind of supper club on 54th Street, and
wow,
that was in between us also doing the 8 shows a week. So it was just as Andrew had left, and I think Jordan had joined, and we were kind of doing that, and this was all right before the pandemic. So that was kind of our first intro to get to know each other.
Yeah.
And then a couple months ago, I was like, "Hey, guess who's coming in?" Gaten, before we kind of figured out, I was like, "Hey, that's so great." So it was fun. I guess the only misconception is I didn't really have any involvement in putting in my replacement to the show. It's not like I'm there directing or whatever.
Sure.
Typically the actor will trail the current actor backstage once just to kind of
that's what I was gonna ask. So
how does it work? How does what are the flights of stairs like? What are the quick changes like? What are those things like? So we did that, and then I came to his put in and got to any advice, any ropes, whatever you need, which is nice. But yeah, I think watching his performance even in the final rehearsal, it's so different, and he's so Gaten and I'm so Jared.
Totally,
and, it's just different. I think we're similar, and we both are curly headed, funny guys.
Right.
But he's different, and that's the show changes, and I think that's cool how it just kind of.
Absolutely.
Again, it continues to evolve. So
yeah, so cool. That's
honored that that he was coming in, and I just thought that was such a great choice. And,
for sure.
And he was so happy to do it. So yeah,
love it. I love it. Any memorable people ever in the crowd when you've been on stage? I know you said so. Will's been there. I know. When you were on, but any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, so pre-COVID, we used to have this, on Broadway, we'd have what we call the Blue Room. Not the green room, the Blue Room.
Nice.
For the show. And it was originally sponsored by Bloomingdale's in New York.
Yeah.
And they Evan Hansen teddy bears and the whole thing. And it would be the spot where, Beyonce's coming to Dear Evan Hansen. Meet her backstage in the Blue Room after the show. That was before I got there.
Yeah.
I think Joe Biden was one of the original guests. On tour, however, we really had a lot of folks, especially in LA. It was
sure.
Tom Hanks is here seeing the show.
Wow.
Come meet him after. Adam Scott's here. Come meet him after. Or,
right.
Troye Sivan's here. A slew of, Nancy Pelosi came in San Francisco randomly.
Wow.
There were a bunch of different folks that would come. And yeah, that was originally Gaten came when we were on Broadway. Caleb, who plays Lucas on Stranger Things, came.
Right.
A couple of the Queer Eye guys came one day.
Is that in your? So you know that they're word kind of spreads before you go on.
Sometimes people used to ask, or if someone's coming, I'd like to know.
Okay. But
a lot of times, at least I remember on Broadway, the way they would do it is they would put put a little whiteboard up kind of on the wing as we were leaving the stage, and they'd say so and so is here. Zendaya came one night. It was like,
wow.
Whoa.
Is that in your head when you're on stage? If someone's like that?
You might, think to yourself, oh, right, I have a friend or family member here, or so-and-so is out there. Maybe I need to just, like, be a little on, or sometimes you'll see, someone posted, oh, my God, they just checked in at the show, or, one of those things.
Wow.
But, you try to give the same authentically genuine performance each night. That is ultimately the job.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. All right, talk to me about TikTok. I know you've been very active on there. You've found a lot of success on there. The lemonade, all of that, and I know you. So you said you really got into it during the pandemic, as most people did. It seems like you're having a lot of fun on there.
Yeah, I try and keep it light and silly and fun, and I think that's the safest way to do it. I think there can be a lot of pressure, like I was saying, or it can feel toxic at times. I try and just use it as a space to create. I read Josh Peck's autobiography a couple months ago when it came out, and he had a very similar kind of thing to say about it all. Because he was one of the original like Viners when Vine came out like 10 years ago, and has a huge internet following these days on all the platforms, I feel like. And I think what he said is true for any young artist. Like, it's a space where you can practice and kind of keep your chops going, and it's kind of like a way you can create that opportunity for yourself. Because, the simple fact is, like, as an actor, it's like the life is just a lot of auditions after auditions. And, it'll occasionally be interrupted by hits, and you'll make it into something, and you'll get to perform and actually, like, do what you love or get paid to do what you love. And, like, that's kind of a bonus. But, I think creating an opportunity is so important. And I feel like it's almost like we've been given this gift of these, like, social platforms where you can put yourself out there or put your work out there, and again, quantity, quality, very delicate dance
for
of balance. But that's how everyone does it, and everyone's kind of learning. And these days it's not even just for actors; it's for people that make how-to videos or
100%,
or ASMR stuff, or like things that people like. And if it's bringing joy to someone, then I don't think there's any shame in that.
Absolutely.
At all. I think there are ways you can find joy out of a lot of these apps or whatever it is you want to call it. So again, I try and keep it light, and like the success is fun and the followers are fun and the likes are fun, but at the end of the day, we're still people, and we're using a weird thing.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Talk to me about the lemonade thing specifically, though, because that really went off.
Yeah, and I think the lemonade one, I didn't even really know it was happening as it was happening. It was just all kind of giddy and exciting, and I was like, oh, wow, this video is doing really well. Ha, ha, ha. And then, like, finally it was like, all right, okay, I guess we'll, like, we'll make a song out of it that now has, like, over 1 million Spotify streams. And it's, like, kind of crazy that it turned into that, but I think it's cool that a community sort of said in a silly and also somewhat positive way, like, this slaps and is great, and I would listen to this and I love it, and I think that's cool. So all I'll really say is, like, it came at this time where, like, I guess if it was September of 2020 that I really was like, all right, I'm going full in TikToking, by early November 2020, I was still, like, at home, like, a lot of it, like, with my parents, like, kind of just, like, cooped up, and no one was doing anything at that time. And I was, like, in my bedroom, like, with a keyboard, just, like, covering the popular TikTok songs, and, like, here's this one. And it just kind of, like, blew up. And,
but I think
I don't know. It's cool.
And for creators out there too, I think that's a really great lesson, though, because you put that video up not knowing what it would do, right?
Sure.
That's what everything is. And then it goes off, and you took advantage of that and went, oh, I'm hearing people say they would actually listen to this. Mm-hmm. And then you went and recorded it and put it on Spotify, right? And so that's just kind of being, ready when that moment happens.
Yeah, and following the trend and following kind of the masses and what people are enjoying. And yeah, I think it's, again, I didn't know that the video would do well. I didn't know that the content itself would do well. But I did know that I was enjoying at least the act of, singing and playing a little piano and, maybe covering a song or, whatever it was. So again, if it comes from in here and like you feel true and good about it, then that's kind of all that really needs to matter.
Right.
And
love that.
The validation of the numbers is kind of like maybe that comes and maybe it doesn't. And,
absolutely.
I think it's still fun to be out there, but I'm like somewhat, like, delighted that I was like a part of the, the early like weird TikTok kind of trends.
For sure. I
find that very giddy, even if TikTok completely, is not a thing in 2 years,
right?
Or, who knows? But I think that's fun.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes. All right. And then you've been streaming on Twitch lately as well. Talk to me about that. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I again became a nice pandemic project. Something that I remember, my buddy Jordan Fisher was like streaming on Twitch like in early 2020, probably even in 2019, I think. Had been doing it, and I was like, what is this app? And I remember tuning into one of his streams and like, wow, and he's like gamer. I'm really more of a casual gamer. I like just chatting. I like Fortnite and Mario Kart and like the really casual game, like kid games. But I enjoy it. I enjoy playing with my friends, or with viewers even. I think I really like it in a weird way. These video games saved me like during the COVID quarantine, like, and I would have this like kind of routine, which is now what I'm getting back into as I'm done with the HOE grind again, of like waking up and doing TikToks and then doing Twitch and making music or making, whatever it is and having a space to create. But it was nice during the quarantine to play a game like Fortnite and you're sitting there and you're listening to your friend and it feels like they're right next to you, but they're on their screen in their house and you're away from everyone. And there was nothing pandemic-y about it at all. There was it was like, that's how the game is intended to be played. And I mean, I think the video game is just totally like everyone wanted it so bad during that time. And I'm definitely like happy I had that. That's why Among Us was so popular then.
For sure,
all of it was like really, it was really hot. So that's all I'll really say is that I just am glad I can do that. And even now I'm out in LA and I still have friends that are out in New York that I can play those games with, and it feels normal. It just feels kind of like home. So
nice.
I love that. And I like how on Twitch you can build that community, and there are definitely people that have found me from Evan Hansen or TikTok or whatever. And again, it's building that kind of community. So I think it's all been really fun. It's all just been nice.
I love that. All right, I got a few more for you, and then we'll get you out of here.
Please.
Talk to me about who are your biggest inspirations. Just in general, I guess.
Wow. Wasn't prepared for this one. I get inspired by a lot of things. If we're talking musical theater folks, like I was saying, Stephen Sondheim clearly, I think set the tone for, game-changing musical storytelling. So, that was, he's definitely someone I've always put on that pedestal. If we're talking, I don't know, if we're talking in more, again, that artist kind of model, against someone like Jordan Fisher is just, I think, a great dude at keeping it human, keeping it real, connecting with people on a human level, and is able to, find success by making opportunities for themselves, and also, not letting any of the success kind of take you off the rails too much, and I think that's always so refreshing when you can have that humility and that just sense of realness. Drawing a blank. I mean, my writing partner is like a huge inspiration for me. We complement each other in the best ways.
Nice.
And my fam, my parents, I think are like awesome role models. I think they're awesome role models for, for married life and for parenting and for a slew of other things.
Sure.
It's been fun, becoming an adult and becoming like friends with my parents in a different relationship kind of way. So yeah, I've definitely been inspired by my family, parents, grandparents, for sure. I've always felt a kinship with that.
Yeah. Jared, what's next for you? I know you're in LA now, right?
Yeah.
And just the thing that I love to hear, though, is that, you spent all this time in Dear Evan Hansen, pandemic happens, and you find a way to create. Then you leave Dear Evan Hansen, you move to LA, and you're still finding ways to create. And that's because I relate to that. That's exactly what I do.
Exactly.
But what's next for you?
Yeah, the age-old dreaded question of what's next. It's creating. It's sort of taking a break, but not letting myself get too comfortable. I always am a fan of keeping learning and keeping the skills up. I might pick up a new skill. I really would love to look a little more into some comedy and improv stuff, and kind of continue those skills. But for me, it's sort of more of the same. It's kind of expanding. I definitely did Broadway, and I wanted to do that forever, and I'd love to do it again at some point. It doesn't have to be my next thing, which is kind of why I'm out in LA. So definitely giving the TV film world some more of a chance, and also the writing. We have these scripts that we've been working on that we're trying to get off the ground, that I think we're getting close to doing and it's going to be that. It's going to be more auditioning. It's going to be more TikToking. I still got family back on the East Coast, so I'm certain I'll be kind of back and probably doing the bi-coastal life for a bit. But a lot of it is kind of just more music writing and more of it all. I think, I'm not really sick of it yet. I like doing it all. And
but you are open at some point to go back to Broadway or tour even?
100%. It wants to be the right show for me, I think, and wants to be the right part.
I gotta ask this too. This wasn't on my list, but is there any dream roles?
Oh yeah, I actually would love to play Seymour in Little Shop.
Ooh, nice.
I think that would just be
for sure.
So much fun. Of things that are currently out there. Book of Mormon would be fun. As Elder Cunningham, Bach and Wicked would be fun because, as I said, I love Wicked.
I can see you as Bach.
Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah,
I'm open to it all.
Okay.
But I'm happy to see kind of where the wind takes me, and it's acting is such a weird experience because the stars have to align, and you have to be right, and I happened to really luck out with Evan Hansen, but it was luck and timing just kind of meeting at the right point. And that's what a lot of it is.
Man. All right, last one for you. If you could hear anyone on this podcast moving forward, anyone you would love to hear.
I don't know what kind of pull you have. Anyone. Oh my, anyone at all.
Can be anyone.
Oh man, I don't know. I'd love to hear Larry David on the podcast.
Love it. Let's do it. Love that. All right. Well, look, I just a couple things. One, thank you so much for being here, man. It was such a joy to meet you.
Likewise.
I was just so blown away by just the Broadway experience, first of all, and then like I got like the bug. I was like, okay, I gotta go back. I literally went back like 3 times in 2 months.
That makes me so happy. I was like, I'm so happy you loved it that
so
much.
Good, man. And I just really appreciate you being here. I think you're fantastic. I can't wait to see what comes next, man.
Thanks, man. And same to you. You're fantastic.
Thank you, man. All right, where can they find you online? This is your chance to plug away.
All righty. All my socials are the same. It's Jared B. Goldsmith, B as in boy. It's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch.
Nice.
That's it. I think I'm on all those. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Cameo. I'm on Fan House. I'm on pretty much whatever it is. You name it, I'm there. And you can find me there. So yeah, wherever you like to go first, find me at Jerry B. Goldsmith.
Love it. Everyone check him out across all those platforms. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review where you can. This has been The Critical Podcast. I am your host, MattyTingles. Be safe out there. Be kind to others and yourself. See you next time. Bye.